his fashion designer wife, Jacqueline. And now she was about to steal mine, away from nothing at this point but shell shock, loneliness, and the battle fatigue of the challenge of saving Phillips de Pury from its predicted oblivion. What surely excited me the most about Anne Duong wasn't that she was a top model, but rather that she was an intriguing artist. She had been encouraged by Schnabel, who became famous for his huge paintings set on broken fragments of ceramic plates. Many consider that Schnabel has one of the biggest egos of any living artist. He boasted about being the next Picasso, the way Cassius Clay used to boast that he was the greatest thing since Joe Louis. So the fact that this ego allowed Anne to develop as an artist meant that there was something special there. Schnabel bought her an easel, brushes, and paint, and she began to play around. Eventually she developed a style evocative of Frida Kahlo. Her trademark was her self-portraits, often nude or in transparent lingerie. Anne and Schnabel had broken up when he went on to marry his second wife, Olatz, a Spanish actress. Anne lived in her studio on West 12th Street, near my new Phillips de Pury offices on 15th Street, where I'd beaten a hasty retreat when our disastrous auction efforts had necessitated fleeing from the skyscraper rents on 57th Street. This was well before Manhattan's meatpacking district had become the new Soho, and I like to think I helped plant the seed of cultural gentrification here. I'd met Anne at a dinner at Pastis, then the neighborhood canteen, and suggested quite flippantly across the table that I would like to commission her to do my portrait. Equally flippantly, she agreed. Was this a modern version of the old seduction ploy of inviting the object of your affections to come up and see your etchings? I don't think so. I wasn't even thinking romance, at least not consciously. Anne had been developing quite a reputation as a portraitist. She had recently painted the major contemporary collector Abby Rosen, a global realty mogul who had moved to New York from Frankfurt and would eventually buy both Lever House and the Seagram Building, two of New York's greatest architectural trophy properties. Anne had painted Abby in his boxer shorts. She was currently painting the model Karen Elson, legendary for her pale skin and flaming hair, wearing nothing at all. I wondered what she had in store for me. These portrait sessions tend to be very long and very intimate. I remember that when Heine Thiessen commissioned Lucien Freud to do his portrait, it took over 150 hours of sittings over the course of 15 months in 1981 and 1982. I wasn't sure what I wanted in Anne's portrait, other than that it not take as long as Freud's of Heine, and that it not be in the nude. I requested that I wear my uniform of a double-breasted Caraceni suit, a tailoring obsession I'd contracted from my former boss, Baron Hans Heinrich Thyssen-Bornemisser, who was a devoted Caraceni man and had sent me to Milan for my first fittings, after which I was totally hooked. The tailor of kings and the king of tailors, Caraceni had dressed the crowned heads of Italy and Greece, when they still wore crowns, as well as Gianni Agnelli, Cary Grant, Gary Cooper, and even couturiers like Yves Saint Laurent and Valentino. I liked being in such heady company, and really didn't want to be captured for posterity any other way. Matching the suit's navy colour, I wore my habitual navy tie and white shirt, and carried my other trademark, my red leather diary from Smytheson of Bond Street. Auctioneers are notorious for their superstitions. One of mine was to eat an apple before every sale. Another was always to be bearing something red. Anne was very tolerant of these fetishes. As we began our sessions, what drew me most to Anne was her striking, observant eyes. They put me on the spot and created a particular tension which is essential to making art. The other thing that lured me in was that her taste in music mirrored my own. There had to be music in these sessions, and Anne's mix was an eclectic mélange of opera, classical, rock, pop, French chansons, and movie soundtracks. Every tune touched a chord in me. Ever since childhood, my three obsessions have been art, music, and soccer. With Anne, 2 out of 3 were as good as it would get. Over the course of our sittings, something just happened. Anne gave me a sculpture of herself. I ended up buying her Karen Elson portrait for myself. Despite its full frontal nudity, Anne wasn't the slightest bit jealous. This was art.